We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Caron and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and Secretary of the PGA of America, Don Rea.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the January 2022 episode of Golf Business Live, the first of the new year. Welcome, Don Rea, owner of Augusta Ranch and Secretary of the PGA of America. I'm Jay Caron, CEO of NGCOA. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to Club Caddy for sponsoring this crazy show. Don, how the heck are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. 2022 is going to be the best year yet. Jay Caron, I'm fired up. It's gonna be
wow, Nostradamus, this is excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
Why are you so optimistic? I mean, I know you're an optimistic man in general, Don, but what's in the tea leaves right now about 2022? Why are you so excited?
Well, I'm just watching what's happening at Augusta Ranch. I'm getting some of the Canadians back. They're out playing. They're having a great time. Our leagues are full. Rates are higher. There's no doubt. Some people are coming to the counter and going, what? And there's still that revenue management side too. I paid $48 last week. Why is it all of a sudden 52? Hey man, book in advance. If you want to secure a rate, then you better book it way in advance, because our best deals are when you book in advance. And so, a little pushback, of course, the Canadians, of course, because of the exchange rate. But at the end of the day, the tee is full. And we're still, like I had talked about some previous shows, focusing on filling threesomes, maybe even allowing a fivesome if they can play quicker and going back to the old school days. But at the end of the day, very exciting what's happening in Arizona right now. The weather's been really good. Pellucid would be happy for me to tell you that. The weather's been really good. But I would argue that our play rates are higher than what the good weather would make you think. So I'm very bullish. I'm really bullish right now.
Good. A lot of folks are. They really are. We'll get into some of this, the early reports of how 2021 did and so forth. We're still in a very good place as an industry overall, and we'll talk some about that. But today, just a little teaser. Today we're going to have on the show pretty special guest, and Will Robbins. I call him the PGA coach extraordinaire. We're going to talk about kind of a shift or an evolution happening in golf operations. It sounds incredibly radical. This is so radical. Getting golf professionals out from behind the counters and the desks and out there with the customers. And it's just like very simple, right? But it eludes most golf operations, and it's just been an evolution of the business. And so there's this pendulum that I think is swinging the other direction now to get these golf professionals out there with the customers, engaging with them out in the field and making things happen. So we're going to have Will on in a little bit to talk about that, how to structure that. What does that really mean? I mean, it sounds simple, but why aren't many golf courses doing it, and what do they need to do? So I'm excited about getting Will on the show in a little bit. For the audience at home, whatever channel you're watching through, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it might be, if you've got any questions, we will do our best to bring those to the surface, and at least the good questions, the softballs, the curveballs, whatever. Get us some good questions, and we'll try to handle those during the show. So, a couple things to talk about today, Donnie. One is last month, I took my level 1 seminars at the PGA as an associate member of the PGA of America. I sat through 3 days of golf operations classes all day long and 2 days of teaching and coaching. And I got to tell you, and it was all virtual, because right now we're still in the age of COVID, and we had 70 or 80 associates kind of dialed in for the week. And I believe after the campus is done in Frisco that they're going to bring it back in person, and we'll get to. And I can really. Oh no. Okay. Well, I can see the value of. I wish I was in a classroom with these people, and engaging and knowing them. It's a little difficult to build relationships over the computer screen. But I'm going to say this. Having my skeptic's eye on the curriculum. That's why I'm doing this. It's for the owner's skeptic eye on the curriculum and the experience they are. Is the PGA of America kind of teaching students what they need in today's, staff based on today's golf operations? And there's always this kind of phrase, the PGA professional they don't know how to run a business. They may know how to teach, golf or whatever. I got to tell you, this was rigorous and it was impressive, especially the golf operations side for me, to be able to look at what they're teaching and the strategic planning, the fictitious private and public courses, and these case scenarios of challenges presented to them, having to make financial projections over multiple years based on performance, the things that we were doing and prepare, that we had to do in preparation for the class, the discussions we were having, the exercises we were doing. We actually had to have a live negotiation, as though we're bringing one group is bringing a tournament to the course and the other group is the course, and we're actually in negotiations on settling terms for bringing that tournament to the course. I was impressed. I was really, really impressed with the high level business discussions we were having, and the rigor of it. And then the teaching and coaching, which is a little Greek to me, even though I've been playing for a long time, single digit guy and all that fun stuff. You think you kind of know enough, but the technical side of things and the philosophy of teaching and all these things that we went through, really impressive. The faculty did a great job. So kudos to them for what I've seen so far. I got to tell you, I am completely scared to hell of the portfolio work that I'm going to have to do. And that's because I got a day job. But what I got to do to submit portfolio work, again, another example of the rigor of this, and which is what you want when you have those three letters, right? So kudos so far. But any responses to what I'm seeing? What do you think, Donnie?
Well, one, I'm glad that it's testing you, right? I mean, we're trying to be the gold standard. At least the PGA is trying to do that, so that all of our members, when they're working for golf course owners and operators, that they truly see that we are not an expense. We are a cost of goods sold. If you invest in us, we make you double the money. We are a keystone item for sure. As far as level one, absolutely, we believe in the class and the cohort group that you're in right now to spend more time with each other. But we did elect, even post-COVID, to keep level one as virtual. And the reason it is because it can be more open for everybody. You didn't have to take 4 days off work in a sense of flying somewhere. Obviously, you were probably answering some emails while you were going through your stuff because there were urgent items. But we do believe that level one, we know we're going to keep level one as virtual. Level two and level three, you certainly will be spending time.
That's what I meant.
With your cohort group in Frisco. We are opening up the headquarters building, looks like May, which is still about a month ahead of schedule. So we're excited about that, even with COVID. So, and I think all those scenarios you're going through is just that, right? It's trying to show you anything and everything that you're going to deal with. Level one is purposely kind of a shakeout a little bit. Are you really serious about being a golf professional? We want the best and the brightest. We're not about how many PGA golf professionals. We're about how good are they? Are they going to be the quality people and quality operators that we want them to be? And, you talk about teaching and coaching. I'm sure Will, our guest today, was kind of withering, going, "Oh my gosh, is Jay caught up in ball flight laws and face before angle and over the top?" And at the end of the day, Will's going to enlighten us of really how you truly make an impact on your facility. You certainly need to understand the fundamentals, but I think you're going to be excited to hear what Will has to say, because it's kind of new to you too, right? We did a little prep call, but you have no idea, how deep of what Will's doing and how he's changing the face of coaching. So all in all, I'm excited you're going through the program. I want you to give me all the feedback. The PGA wants all that feedback, Jay. It's like, one of your best practices you can do as a golf course owner is to invite another golf course owner to your facility, one that you know and trust, and who's going to tell you if your zipper's down, is going to tell you if you've got something in your teeth, is going to tell you, one of those friends that isn't afraid to say, "Hey, Don, I played on Tuesday." Rock Lucas came out, to play Augusta Ranch many moons ago, and is like, "Hey, I like this. You had some wet spots over here." I was asking him questions, pulling information out of him because he had an owner's eye. I need you to do the same, Jay. We want to get better in the PGA. We feel our education is good. It can always get better and better, and your feedback's going to allow that to happen. So I appreciate you going through the program. I hope that I'm the president. Actually, I don't know. You might become a member before I'm president, but
I don't know. Not at the pace I'm going to have to do this portfolio that I'm going to do it. We'll see.
Hey, if it was easy, everybody would do it. When you do attain your membership, you will know you would work hard for it, and you're going to cherish it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll keep everybody posted on my journey on that. So looks like the NGF came out with a kind of a preliminary look at 2021 and they believe that rounds of golf will be up 4 to 5% over 2020, which is about 25 million more rounds of golf. A lot of people were not predicting that 2021 would be as good as 2020, that we might see kind of the plateauing or the dropping off. We saw that in the few months in the summertime, but we had a bang up spring, over 2020, obviously. So how, is that what you're hearing from owners and operators as well, that we're kind of holding the line of this kind of COVID boom in demand?
Yeah, that's what's exciting to me, is that rounds are going up because I know that rate is going up. And so some golf courses might be getting too aggressive. Who knows? I mean, inflation is hitting all of us. My seed budget went up double. Last year, 27,000. This past year was 52,000 for me to overseed my golf course. So rate has gone up. And so if there were a lot of rate sensitive people out there, rounds might have tapered down a little bit, just in our ambition to put some money in the bank, getting ready for the next downturn, right? I mean, we always got to store some up because we never know. We've got capital projects all the time that need to be done. So I'm very excited about that. Certainly what I've seen at Augusta Ranch, certainly as I've traveled the nation talking to PGA golf professionals and speaking at their meetings, we're all seeing the same thing. Everybody's exhausted, but rounds are up despite rate going up, which is a great thing, because that intersection, it really leads to longevity in this business. That's great.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm hoping that golf course owners and operators are cautiously optimistic as they budget, right? Because it's one of those things that after going through the recession for so long, that it's like we can't bet on, and that this trend will keep continuing. Like, prepare for it, but budget as though, play it conservatively on that side as far as what actual rounds may end up being in 2022. But you're right. We've got some great education out there in the industry on dynamic pricing and so forth. And I think that is going to be a key to yielding more out of the boom that we're seeing. I think is that rate management, right? I mean, I think we've got some opportunity there still in our industry, but it's happening. It's happening. It's funny to hear you say that one golfer who's going to pay one rate one week and a different rate the next week. It's like they're going to get used to it. It's kind of like the surcharging that's out there, the 2 or 3% you add to the credit card bill just to cover your costs. You think that customers are going to bail on you? It's like there might be a little bit of griping for a little bit, but generally they accept it. Do you think that's going to continue with the dynamic pricing?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you might get too aggressive. Once again, you're always sorting time-sensitive people and price-sensitive people, and so you better have products for both. But you certainly can't be afraid. I think that we're watching NFL playoff games right now. Somebody gets a big lead, and all of a sudden they start playing prevent defense, and the other team starts scoring. Listen, your business is either growing or dying. If you try to maintain this lead, you are going to lose. So excited about Will showing up today. How are we going to take advantage of this big lead that we have so that we keep piling onto the points? So let's not play prevent defense. We're either growing or dying. Let's grow. Let's grow. Let's not maintain. And I think if you do that, certainly there'll be some pushback here and there. But as long as you're sorting customers where they want to get sorted and have something for them, you're going to be just fine.
Interesting segue to my next topic, because you like either you're growing or you're dying kind of thing. And I think a lot of people approach life that way, right? Like either you're living or you're dying, right? And there's a little psychology there in that. And so this just today in our Golf Business Weekly, there's an article from JJ Keegan, our friend out there in Colorado, consultant in the industry. The title of the article was the psychology barriers facing golf course managers that limit the investment return of their golf course. Like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, so you start reading it, and the primary thesis of this, and actually I've said a lot of these things over the years as well, is that golf course owners and operators are incredibly risk averse. They get into patterns, they play it safe. In fact, he references Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You remember this from psychology class, where you've got your base needs and all the way up to self-actualization, that if you take care of all these needs, you get up to the top and you're just like, the self-actualized human being is like the apex of the human experience. Well, that's after you've satisfied all these needs. And one of the base needs, second level down, I think, is safety. And JJ is kind of saying that, a lot of golf course owners and operators live in the safety zone, that when they're looking at their golf course and they're operating, all they're doing is they're playing it safe. They're just trying to, keep the business going for the next year. They're not picking their head up, strategic planning, and looking at growth and how to change and evolve the business. And, I mean, JJ's been at this a long time, and I think he's not that he's throwing in the towel, because he's like a change agent. Golf course owners need to do this and do this and do this. And he feels like he's probably beating his head against a wall sometimes. And he's saying that the status quo is a hard thing to fight against, and I've always phrased it like this. It's like golf course owners, they risk so much getting into the business, but once they're in the business, they stop risking. It's like buying that big boat and never taking it out of the harbor, kind of thing. So, do you relate to that, and what would you say to course owners and operators to kind of break the spell of rinse and repeat and play it safe?
Wow, that's deep. You're smart. You know what? I've been taking advantage of that. I think that's the reason I've been successful. When I got into the business after my umpire career, right, I was in effect a newbie. And so when I try things, a lot of my fellow golf course owners, actually operators, because I wasn't a golf course owner at the time, right, I would want to try these ideas. And like, oh, we tried that, it doesn't work. We tried that, it doesn't work. And I was like, what? I'm trying it. And so what's helped me in my competitive rate set out where Augusta Ranch is that we are innovative. Our restaurant is doing $1.3 million in sales this year because we focus at night, not during the day. We still do lunches, but our community is helping our restaurant. We do movie nights on the driving range. We do bike rides down the cart path. We do cornhole leagues on a Friday night under the lights. I'm doing all of these things, taking advantage of, like you said, those ones that are playing it safe. I'll tell you what, as your competitor, keep playing it safe, because I'm going to keep smoking you, because that's why I'm stealing your customers, because I'm living and looking at trends. People want to spend time together. People want to do things other than golf. But I've got 95 acres of fun. And if I leverage all of those acres in every form and facet, eventually driving down to rounds of golf, because that still is what pays the bills. I get it. I have to have transitional programs to get somebody from toe in the water to swimming every day. But you're right. I think those owners that are holding their cards and they just, end up pushing all the time and never get into a pot. Well, you never win a pot. It's okay to take a chance, but never bet more than what you've got in your pocket, because that's how you don't end up. You don't have not at the table very long. That's if you do that check. So you got to be careful. But don't
95 acres of fun. It's a great segue actually to a question we've got from someone in the audience here. Let's see if I can surface it. Hey, Taylor, can you surface the question from Chris Brophy? There we go. So do you have any experience with multi-use golf courses? We've seen some successful golf courses that have included disc golf for extra revenue. Some smaller courses have seen big spikes with added disc golf rounds. What's your take? I mean, 95 acres of fun, right? So how does a golf course owner operator integrate these kind of alternative forms of fun when, we have got a core audience that has said things about foot golf? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want it to be around me. I want the pure experience. How do you play traffic cop and integrate these kind of fresh things on your acreage? What's your advice to Chris and other owners that have this same question?
Well, try it. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, we do foot golf, and I know some of my counterparts in California are mixing in foot golf tee times and regular tee times. I haven't done that, but I did buy 60 glow-in-the-dark soccer balls so that we could do foot golf at night, so that families could play. And to see those orange soccer balls bouncing down the fairway at night, it's fun. So I tried it. It worked. We kept doing it. Disc golf, I've tried it too. They can roll out those discs, and, they're not on the greens. They're off into the woods. Disc golfers love playing at golf courses because we have golf carts, which is sometimes a luxury that they don't normally get. I would absolutely call the local disc golf association and try to have an event at your facility and see what's going on. Back in the day, to be quite honest with you, it was hard because they smoked a lot of weed, Jay. I'm not even going to lie. But now it's legal everywhere. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't care so much, but as a family man, as a Christian man, I had a problem with some weed they were smoking on my golf course.
Oh, come on, Don Rea.
Hey, but that was years ago. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to go all in. But anyways, the disc golfers are going to hate me. They're going to go, we're not all smoke weed. I'm sorry, hasty generalization. I apologize to the disc golfers out there. Terrible. I know I'm terrible. But anyways, I think you try it all. But I think when you do, why not introduce them a little bit into golf? Because at the end of the day, we know that it's good for people. We know that it's good for families, mental and physical health. So, if you use those things to turn people into the game of golf, well, then I think we're doing our job.
You got to look to the bowling industry, right? And you can't go to a thriving bowling alley today without seeing an arcade to the left, escape rooms to the right, and just great food and beverage all around now, rather than the crappy hot dog and hamburger, that typical bowling alley used to serve. So, to Chris and others, It's a matter of finding what's right for your acreage, your customers, but to attempt to go for it. Yeah. So I agree. We're seeing success at golf courses, bringing more forms of fun to the facility. Obviously, one of the ones getting mainstream right now is the simulator business and bringing that into the golf entertainment business. That's kind of an appendage to the green grass stuff too. And that's keeping the cash register ringing when the sun goes down as well, and that's really exciting. No, thanks for the question, Chris. All right. So, one little bit of NGCOA kind of news and industry things that we want to remind our audience about before we get to Will is that, next week is the Golf Business Conference and the PGA Show. And, we're expecting a little bit of a lower turnout, but still, hundreds of folks at the Golf Business Conference, several thousand people coming to Orlando for the PGA Show. It's going to be a great, great week. We've got on Monday, on Sunday, Jeff Hogue, our board member and owner out there in Michigan, is going to run his mastermind session at the Rosen Center Hotel. So if you're a golf course owner operator, come bring some cash for the cash bar, have some drinks, and talk about the problems at your facility or your great ideas. We're going to have a kind of a crowdsourcing room experience on Sunday. Monday, we've got the golf outing at Reunion Resort. Going to have a great time out there. And if you're not into golfing, Allison George is pinch hitting and going to do a marketing pre-conference session for a couple of hours on Monday as well. That's going to be great. We're going to kick off Monday night with Brandel Chambly and Augie Pisa talking about innovation in golf. And our friend Craig Can is going to facilitate that fireside chat. Tuesday all day, fantastic education on golf operations. We're going to look beyond golf as well and talk about the political economic world and what that means for the golf industry and opportunities there. Some great speeches that we'll have from keynoters and a panel on labor and workforce. We're going to talk about D&I. We're going to talk about work-life balance, and we're going to talk about filling the entry-level positions that seem to be elusive these days to try to get people to fill. And then on Wednesday, we'll cap off the Golf Business Conference with a luncheon with Annika Sorenstam, the winner of our Award of Merit. And so we're excited that Annika will be joining me on stage for a Q&A to cap off the Golf Business Conference. And we got 3 days of the PGA Show, walking the show floor and seeing all the vendors. Speaking of walking the show floor, do you remember when we first met, Don Rea?
I remember. I think you just got the job, at the NGCOA. And I don't think I was a board member yet, but I wanted to talk to you and you were like super busy. And I wanted to talk about barter. To be honest with you, I think I wanted to talk about golf now and barter and the danger I thought it was to the industry 10 years ago, whatever it was. And you go, I got no time for a meeting. I'm like, please, just give me something. All right. I got a 15-minute walking meeting. And we literally met in the lobby of the Orlando Convention Center. We walked across the street while I talked to you and chased at your heels and hoping that the walk sign would say, don't walk. So I'd get an extra couple minutes of a meeting, but I'll never forget that. So if you want to meet with me next week, because I am the secretary now, I think I got a 10-minute walk-in meeting for you as I go up the escalator to the member business. Yeah, well, you know what happens. What goes around comes around.
That's right. All right, let me get that walking. You know what? Maybe on the treadmill.
10 minutes.
One morning on the treadmill, 5 a.m.
I'll give you an escalator meeting. I'm going to give you an escalator. And they got one that's at 2 escalators. I'll give you a 2 escalator meeting. That's all you
Wow. Okay. I'll take it. My friend. Anything I can do to spend time with you, but that is kind of funny. And I would never say, I don't have time for you. Come on.
You didn't say that. I just had to make it sound. But I got to say something. Jeff Hogue's deal on Sunday. I don't know when everybody's getting in, but man, I hope you're getting in early for his masterminds. It is an amazing way to start the week. And everybody's drinking the cocktails. It starts loosening up a little bit, and the topics are amazing. It'll literally set the tone for you the entire conference. So I hope you're getting in time. If not, change your flight, because what Jeff does in that masterminds group is spectacular.
Yeah, we're gonna have I can tell you this, we're gonna have a great time next week because I think the folks are gonna be excited to gather. It'll have been 2 years since we've gathered together in person. Hard to believe, but we're gonna have a great time together. So, all right, without further ado, Don, yes. we're gonna bring on our guest in a moment. But actually, there he is, Will
Robbins.
All right, now before we introduce Will, Don, I want you to set the stage a little bit first and talk about the PGA of America's kind of move towards this term coaching, and then we're gonna talk about Will and dive a little deeper into that. But there was kind of this nomenclature change, and there's this PGA.coach and all. What is it about coaching that the PGA felt was important to kind of change, the terminology and what you guys are putting out there? And then we'll introduce Will.
Yeah, I don't want to steal too much of Will's thunder. What I will tell you is this: is is player development, business development, right? I mean, if you're doing a bunch of lessons at a golf course, is it actually adding to the golf course? Is it creating rounds of golf? Is it creating more business and loyalty? And if it's not, then we should fix it. And I think that's something that the PGA recognizes, is that we certainly want the golf course owners to be happy. And so I think what Will has done is just kind of, and like I said, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but is just he has a really compelling message. He's a spectacular presenter. And he really relates to the PGA golf professional of just saying, hey, this is what you're doing, but what if you did it this way? Do you think you could make more money? Do you think it could lead to more time with your family? Do you think it could lead to being more important and invaluable to your facility? And then he just kind of guides him through. He's done it with some PGA golf professionals already, but I think it's certainly the recognition of the PGA of America to say, can we leverage the marketing resources of the PGA of America, drive them to PGA.com, which will drive them to a PGA member who's got a coach profile, and then end up in that person actually playing golf. Jay, as you know, when you try to get your wife in the game, you start to do a search for coaches. It's hard to find it out. So who else but the PGA of America and to help the LPGA and literally the golf course owners, because this is going to help everybody. But can I get a consumer who's watching a PGA Tour event to come to our website and then go to a coach profile and literally book a lesson? Because what we find is they play more golf, they stay at that facility, and the PGA or the coach, the PGA or LPGA professional, ends up creating a relationship and making money for the facility and themselves. So that's why we did it. And Will is the number one championer for this, as well he should be, because he's just awesome at it. And I can't wait to see the things he's going to accomplish over the next couple of years. He's already created a whole bunch of videos that are amazing. But yeah, that's it. Will Robbins is the man.
There he is. Will Robbins. He operates WR Golf Coaching. He's CEO of Robbins Golf Logistics. You're a native of the UK. You came to Monterey to play college golf. You wanted to be a tour player. You had a dream of being a tour player, right? Take it from there. What happened? Tell us about your journey to where you are today, and even a little bit about that Thailand story. I think our audience should hear a little bit about that. And then what you're preaching today, my friend. What's the gospel, and why you think it's so important?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Jay, thanks for having me on the show. Don Rea, as always, it's a pleasure. And yeah, I mean, my plan was not to be a PGA professional. I can tell you that. It was to play professionally. And I came out to America. I got to play college golf. That was amazing. And then spent a couple of years caddying and putting some money away and getting some sponsorship to go and play professionally. And to put a very long story short, went out on my honeymoon with my wife to Thailand. And on the final day of our honeymoon, we were swept out to sea in the Asian tsunami and basically breathed my last breath of that life and came up in the water, spent a day out there in the ocean, and then spent about 5 weeks in hospital in Thailand and came back to America even more focused on, I'm going to play professionally and I'm going to prove myself through playing professionally. Then my wife got laid off, and then our insurance didn't pay up, and I didn't have a job because I couldn't spend my sponsorship money. And so someone asked me, would you like to start teaching? And I thought, no. And then I looked at my bank account and I thought, it's a great idea. Let's do it. And so that put me on a lesson tee in Folsom, California, an Empire Ranch, where I still am at. And I got on that lesson tee and knew within about 15 minutes of my first lesson that if I was going to do this, I could not do it the way that the standard lesson is done. So that was kind of the journey of me getting into coaching.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So then tell us a little bit about what you've been preaching to the PGA of America, through the PGA of America, and to the kind of greater universe about this concept of changing where the golf professional needs to be and what they need to be doing for themselves and for the facilities. And maybe, tie those two together, that, because we want healthy people working in our golf shops and out in the field with the customers, because that makes a better business, right? So, but talk to me about the holistic approach to what you're talking about here.
Yeah, well, carrying on from that moment of standing on the range and realizing that the guy in front of me was so confused that he confused me about a golf swing. And I just thought, look, I know how to get the golf ball in the hole. That's what I know how to do. And so we hopped in a cart and we went to play some golf together. And what I realized was you can help golfers a lot more if you actually get them to where they play the game, which is on a golf course. And so it really quickly sparked for me that if I was going to do this, I would want to create more of an environment of learning and coaching and really take it back to playing college golf. And so I got a group of 16 players and I said, let's for 12 weeks, just go and play golf together and practice together. And I guarantee you I'll get you better. And at the end of those 12 weeks, I dropped 11 shots average off of those players. I had guys that had never touched a club break 100. I had players shooting 120, break 90. I had people shooting 105, shoot 80. A guy shooting 77, shoot 69. So every level, every stage of the game, and they just loved it. And I realized that throughout that whole experience, we were going on the golf course and I was paying for cart fees for every player. So when I was having 16 people on the golf course at 5:30 at night and nobody was out there but us, we were out there and I was paying for range balls and the club was loving it because I kept on walking in with my credit card and buying tee times, and my players loved it. And I realized at that point that if I was going to do this, is that I was going to be a coach. And a coach to me, I hear a lot of people say a coach is a holistic idea of golf. I'm going to teach all parts of the game and club fitting, but really a coach is somebody that guarantees and is connected to the result. I know the playoffs are on right now, and if you get kicked out of the playoffs and you don't win a Super Bowl, your job's on the line. Whereas a lot of times for a pro, you don't get better at golf. Well, not my problem. Buy another lesson. And I just felt like there's no way to shift that unless you get somebody committed to a duration of, say, 12 weeks, their goals, and you go and play golf with them and you teach them how to play. And so that was really the initial program that started. And then it just evolved with our juniors. It evolved with all of our adults and the club, instead of focusing on, can I get that 10% off of my professional? It was, he's paying, $30,000, $40,000 a year in green fees and range balls. But not that. I've got that second year, I had 250 juniors coming out whose parents were handing a $20 bill to them saying, buy a bucket of balls, buy a soda, buy a candy bar, and hang out for a few hours. And you times that by, we're in California, there's a lot of days that you can play golf. And I found, as we started to survey all of our players that, they were spending a lot of money out there, about an average just under $900 per player that was out there. And with all those families being out there, that was now hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue. And we went from a facility that had literally, they told me we're closing down the junior program because there's no interest, to a location that was having 250 kids come out and, the driving range is slam packed and the golf course is busy and we're thriving. And it was because we got out there and started to coach the game of golf instead of trying to fix people's golf swings.
Wow. Okay. So, it sounds very transformative, yet so simple. So what are people doing wrong? Talk to us about what you think is broken in the current, standard model that's out there.
Well, I think, if you look at it, there's a couple ways to look at it. One is that I think the broken part is the owner of the facility or the general manager almost sees the teaching professional as a burden and a kind of a necessary evil, and doesn't see them as the most valuable asset they have at a golf course. Even more than the golf course, right? Because a well-taught coach who understands how to communicate people, develop their golf game, brings new people to the game, gets them to play more golf, and gets them to stay in golf. So you got all these creative ways of how we can market to people and get them into golf and how we can get them to the golf course to spend money. Well, my experience has been somebody who's getting connected to their friends and meeting new friends at a club, who's playing lots of golf with their pro, who has a goal that keeps on getting readjusted as they continue to hit the next goal, is an avid golfer. And that avid golfer is going to spend 20 to 30 times more than your average golfer. And so really the first problem is we've got to get that clarity for owners to understand that if you get a coach who's really focused on being this PGA modern coach, that they are going to drive revenue through the roof, which means let them keep their money, because we don't want money out of their pocket. We want money out of their 300 students' pockets.
Right.
So I think that's probably the first broken model. And then on the other side is the pro has fallen into a servant mentality. Oh, you've got a broken golf swing. You'd like me to fix it. I'm $100. Here's 1 hour. Where's the expert in that? I don't go to my dentist and tell them what tooth to work on. And I don't go to my mechanic and I just say, there's this crazy noise. Can you fix it? You're an expert. But a golf pro, it's one of our greatest strengths, but it's also our Achilles heel, is we serve people and we care about people and we love this game and we want to get them better. But the problem is we then become that servant. So instead of that servant leader who's going to say, Mr. Smith, your drive is bad, but your putting's way worse, and your mentality out on the golf course is really negative, and we need to go and play golf, and I need to make those changes, and then we'll work on your driver once you're able to hit a driver, but we're too afraid to do that. So I think you've got the golf course owners need to help to see it the right way, and then you've got the golf pro who needs to shift from, can I make money for me and can I, sell lessons, to can I get players better so they spend more money, so they connect to the golf course, so they don't leave the golf course, they bring friends into the game, and I'm generating massive revenue for the club. My players are happy. Oh, and I'm also getting paid really well. And so it's that win-win-win, but it's for both sides to have a complete shift in the way they think about the game of golf and how it's taught.
Don, what are you seeing here?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. When I first got on the NGCOA board and some of my fellow board members relaxed a little bit around me, or when I was at my first golf business conference and they didn't know I was a PGA member, they'd kind of look around and go, hey, PGA members, they're all about, man, they're leaning on that 7-iron, making $1 a minute. I'm getting killed. I'm losing money every year. PGA professional's making all the money while he's out there teaching. What's he doing for me? And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So one, we have to change that because Will just said, and like I've said, we are not an expense. I think a good coach is a cost of goods sold. What I would say too is that not everybody wants to coach all the time. Now, Will coaches all the time. There's a lot of PGA golf professionals that, do want to be a head golf professional and run the business, but they'd like to teach a little bit. So could this be an opportunity? And I guess the question to you, Will, is, what is that mix? Because you and I have talked before, just because I'm trying to open my mind to this a little bit of an individual lesson, only, for instance, at Augusta Ranch, individual lesson, the PGA gives it, he gets to keep all the money, or she gets to keep all the money. None of it comes back to the golf course. And I trust them all, but I can see how that perception is hanging there.
Really?
All of a sudden you're talking about, well, hold a second, maybe they spend an X amount of their time out there doing playing lessons, which leads to rounds of golf, doing sessions with multiple people. And so talk about that a little bit, because you definitely, as you just said, you're not about swing philosophy. This has nothing to do with swing. Stack and tilt, the Y factor, you do whatever you want to do out there, coaches. But could you actually deliver what you're doing a little bit differently to impact the golf course? So for instance, Will, I guess the question is, where do you see a regular golf professional, doesn't want to teach 40 hours a week, just wants to run the golf course, but actually mix in a coaching type of strategy? How do they begin this to make that owner operator happy?
And that's a great point. I mean, we have 28,000 professionals, and I believe around about 17 to 18,000 actively out there that have the opportunity to coach, even though they may not consider themselves a coach. But I would say this is that if you're a director of golf, if you're a general manager, if you're a head professional, I mean, if you're at a private club, we'll talk private and public, but if you're at a private club, it is your role to make sure that those members stay. And how are they going to stay? They know people and they're playing decent golf. My experience is, how on earth do you do that from behind a laptop, behind a computer screen, or behind a counter? It's very difficult, because you're tying the most valuable asset at the facility and tying them behind a desk or tying them behind a counter. And so to me, if I'm at a private club, I want my head professional, my general manager, playing once a week with 4 members, because I want to get down on the ground level and I want them to listen in. What are they thinking about the course? What are they thinking about the greens? How's the restaurant? How's the new chef? How do they like the assistants? And the thing is, you go from behind a desk where they come and complain to you or make comments, to playing golf and showing them that you can play, and they become, your friend, and they're in awe of you, and they'll share with you stuff that they'd never tell you because they think it wouldn't be the right thing to say to their general manager or head pro, because they don't want to be a nuisance. And so I think for that head professional at a private club, I feel that you should be going out there and picking 4 members. And the beauty here is, if you just say to them, look, a normal 1-hour lesson is $60. I'm going to take you out on the golf course for 2.5 hours. We're going to play 9 holes, and then we're going to grab a bite to eat afterwards. And I just want to assess your game, see where it's at, and help you to have a plan on how to get better. And I'm just going to charge the same price as a 1-hour lesson. But I'm going to invite 2 other players that you actually, I think you know them. They both have young children that are both in the swim club with your kids. So now, what are you actually doing? You're connecting people who are at the club, so they know families. You're helping them get better. And guess what? You're getting paid to go out there and play golf. And if you look at that on the public side, absolutely, you want to make those players not leave your facility. Well, what better way than to get them on the golf course and connect them with other people there and talk about the men's club or the next event that you've got coming up. And you get paid doing this. And there's a model that we can sort of talk about today that if you follow it, you're literally going to double what you would make teaching privately. And you're going to get to hang out once a week and actually get back to what you love doing, which is play golf, right? Because you got into the golf industry because you love playing golf and teaching people. But sometimes we get so busy being a general manager or whatever position, head professional, director of golf, that you don't play golf anymore. You don't feel connected to your members. And I've got so many coaches that have taken $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 bonuses that they created the money themselves because they went out there and started teaching once a week for 9 holes. And they got paid to get a better experience for their members and for their players at the facility. So it's just a win-win all round.
If it's so, I mean, it sounds so obvious. It sounds so simple. Then why hasn't the industry done this? Why have we? Because I think that was the old way of doing things with the golf pro, especially the private club. Back before there were public daily fee golf courses. I mean, the industry was really primarily made up of private clubs and, let's say, munis back until the 1960s and 70s. So back then, the golf professional was expected to play with the members and so forth. And somewhere along the line, they got behind the desk and behind the counter and so forth. So why is it so difficult? Why isn't it happening if it's such a simple philosophy?
Well, let's look at it outside of this. Let's look at it as our golfers. I think that every golfer knows that you probably shouldn't take driver off of the first tee when you haven't warmed up, and you should just put a ball in play. And you've heard it from Bob Rotella, and you've heard it on the Golf Channel, and you've read about it, and your friends have told you about it. And we all know the old guy that hits it straight down the middle of the fairway every time and breaks 80, and you wish you were like him. And then we pull out driver and pipe 3 OB. So the point being is that in this industry, like in the world, we tend to stay in the lane that we're in. And so golfers struggle to be embarrassed to take a hybrid off of a tee box because, well, everyone else is going to hit a driver out of bounds, so I might as well hit a driver out of bounds. Instead of being like, no, I'd like to shoot a low score, so I'll put it in play. So I think the industry has shifted to this idea of, a 1 hour lesson is more effective. And if you think about this game, right, of privilege, let's just put it in lines of, when you came to your golf course and you could afford to play the game of golf and you say, I want my lesson, it's like, because I want my time and it's valuable. So that lowered the PGA professional to be the servant and not the expert, where I go to my ski instructor and go, okay, teach me how to not kill myself or hurt myself and show me how to go faster. Tell me. Whereas we go saying, well, I want to learn how to go down a double black diamond. I've never skied before, but I'm a guy, so I should do that. So it's just this complete shift in the golf industry that we've given the power to the person that doesn't know what their own problem is, because they remember. Now, I understand when they're at the club, you need to serve them well. You need to listen to them. You need to bring in the right merchandise. You need to make sure the ladies' event's good and the tournaments are great. But when you shift from walking from that pro shop down onto that first tee or onto that lesson tee or onto that short game area, and you're the coach, you are now the expert. And so I think the biggest thing is giving professionals the support from general managers, from their owners, from their head pros, to say, I see your value and it's out there helping my members get better and get connected. And then that pro embracing it and saying, my real strength is getting out there and leading this person to lower scores, not standing doing the same lesson for the same student for the 4th week in a row, thinking, I just prefer to be in the pro shop, but I'm making more money, so I'll do it. So I think, again, it's this mindset that we're going upstream. That's what we think. But when we look at it, it's just total common sense. Get on the golf course, go and play with your players and let them have more fun and let them be around you because they want to be around you because you're a professional golfer. So I think it's very common sense, but that's the easiest things aren't always the easiest things to actually take action on and do. That's why we're putting together so much training and we're sharing so much of this, of the success of these modern coaches, because the results are insane. I mean, these coaches are, like I said, I've got a coach, Jeff Hotchman. He's a general manager of 2 courses in Arizona, actually. And, he basically got a $20,000 bonus this year by just going out on the golf course and playing with his members. And he knows his members better than he ever has. He's loving golf better than he ever has. And the club's over the moon because they're seeing now, my goodness, we can integrate this with all the assistants. And this is going to drive up our membership prices and there's more value. So, I mean, again, we've just got the best asset in the wrong place.
Interesting. I want Taylor. I want you to surface Kurt Albertson's comment here because I think this is a great. I want to talk about numbers here in a minute and scale. So Kurt, who's a PGA professional, he works for Eyes on Golf, good friend of NGCOA, says, thinking along these lines that Will's talking about at private clubs, the tennis professional plays almost every day with their members. Different responsibilities for sure, but similar story. I love this because, I'm playing the last 2 years. I have gotten into tennis like crazy. I'm playing golf a lot, obviously, but I'm playing a lot of tennis, and I'm making these mental observations of what's going on in the tennis side of our business and what's not happening on the golf side of our business at the club that I belong to. So I'm using this and just kind of extrapolating a little bit. And he's right. I mean, the pro shop probably has 3 or 4 tennis pros, and they're running clinics. They're playing with us and really engaging us. The head of the tennis program at my club is literally, when someone new comes to the club, he's introducing us over email to these new guys, because I play at the 3.5 level, and so someone comes at that level that they just want to mix around and meet guys and play. Yeah. They're introducing us and putting us on the court together, and the tennis pro is part of that. I wonder from a number standpoint, because in the tennis side of it, there might be 150 guys playing tennis at my club actively. On the golf side, there may be 600 guys playing golf, right? And so how do you break it down? Because, as Kurt said, different responsibilities, but similar story in that the tennis pros are working with smaller numbers. So it's easier to kind of, inculcate into this community and be part of it and pull these people together. So how does a golf pro at a public course or a private club, if they're on their own, there's only 1 or maybe 2, in that side of the operations, how do they get their arms around what you're talking about, when there's 600 or 1,000 customers playing golf? How do you break it down? Because right now, I think those numbers, the scale, kind of drive the business model that we have. Like, hey, I'm available. You need me? I'm available for a lesson, because I can't effectively build relationships with 1,000 people. So exactly. How do you transition and kind of break down the numbers and make it work?
Well, I think every club is different, right? But the basic common concept below it is that you have a pro there who, let's just say, from the spectrum of their teaching 51-hour lessons a week to a pro who's very busy in the pro shop. I mean, if nothing's going on or one thing's the other, other end of the spectrum, it's completely that they're just booked up with 1-hour lessons, is you've just got to go ahead and get 4 people on a golf course. That's it. Just get 4 people out for 9 holes. And now here's the thing for the owners, right? You look at inventory every month. How many tees do we have? And how many golf balls do we have? And this, and what was our tee time? And what was our revenue? And they get it perfect, right? And then lessons, I don't know, it's just over there somewhere. And I'm like, that's the way you keep people in the game, right? So if we just started to measure and hold our pros accountable and said, listen, I want you to this month to take 4 players on a golf course. I want you to walk around with them. Maybe you play with them. Some pros, it's better for them to just start just watching and observing and giving insights, because it might be new for them. And I want you to go out there and do that. And you charge that 1-hour lesson rate. So you double your hourly revenue, right? Because you're making $120 an hour for a 2-hour on-course session, and just get something going. And what tends to happen is that then people say, well, why didn't I get invited to that? And it just sprouts up, and then 4 more people. And then a group will come and say, well, I got 4 people. Will you do it? And then you've got a decision to make. You got a decision as an owner, as the general manager, to start to look at it and say, okay, what do I want to do with this? I know that my members want this now. How can I go ahead and not take on the burden, right, of payroll? Because I don't want more payroll. So could I bring in, or could I help this coach transition from being in the pro shop where I could hire somebody else? Now, it's not easy to hire somebody, but you probably don't have to be a PGA pro to ring in a tee time, in my experience, okay? But the PGA pro is the one that can get on the golf course. So what can I do to start having them maybe coach 20 hours a week and get off the clock and let these people pay his pay or her payroll? So that's reduced payroll while increasing spend of the members or retention of the players at a public course. And then decide, what do I want to do here? Because most pros that I talk to, I work with hundreds of pros all over the world. They're always saying, oh, if my pro would just let me out of the pro shop, I just want to teach a little bit more. Just make me more money. And they're restricting them. No, you can't do this. You've got to do your 40 hours. And I'm like, oh, God, we're not seeing it. So once you start to see it, I would say for many clubs, you're going to see that, wow, if I've got about maybe 75 players, maybe to 100 if you've got juniors per coach, but probably more towards 75, and you've got 750 members, guess what? Go and hire another coach. Go and hire another coach. Go and hire a female coach who's only going to work with the beginner ladies, or who's super passionate about, the juniors, and start to realize that when I go to skiing with my kids at the ski school, there's got to be 35 coaches at the ski resort, right? Minimum every day I go up there. And you look at I do some work with the PGA of Spain, and I look at them, and they have golf courses that have 30 to 40 teaching professionals. And we're helping them, transition to this coaching mindset and getting them away from the 1 hour lesson and into groups. And so I see that if you found a cash machine and you just put the card in and money came out, you'd be like, how do I get more cards to put in, or how do I get more cash machines? And I think that's the thing, is that I would do it slowly. I would see the proof of concept. I would get your pro to buy in at the level they want to get in. Maybe it's one playing lesson a week. Maybe they want to coach full time. And to me, then you'd start to see, how do I bring in the next one? Where's the next PGA coach who's ready to come to my facility? And I'll let them keep 90, 95, even 100% of their lessons, because I'm going to measure everything they do with those members. We see our coaches tripling member spend. 3 points of coaching contact in a season, and those members will triple their spend. Okay, that's just paid for itself with 10 students. If they're doing that with 70 students or 100, that's where that 1.3 becomes 1.6 or 1.7, but it doesn't come out of the pocket of the pro who's not making enough money already and working too many hours and is probably losing his passion for what he's doing.
The last thing I'll say about this, what I like, is kind of shifting how we look at business development. When we look at how do we get more business, it's like, well, what's our SEO plan, and what's our promotions that we're going to run this spring, and what sites are we on? And that's how a lot of owner operators think about how I'm going to get more business, and they neglect to look inside of their people and invest in their people to make this happen. And it's time and time again, we've talked about how this is a relationship business, and that's key to that business development.
Or Jay, they even go to this and they say, okay, I've got this lady who comes out every week and she hits balls 5 days a week. So instead of charging her $500 for range balls, I'll go and charge her $400 and I'll give her a discount. That's great. That might retain her. But if she's out there every day, either she wants to get better or she's struggling and wants to get better. Wouldn't it be better to put a professional on the range who is walking the range and talking and communicating and giving out their time to build relationships, help that player? And that player then comes out and does a playing lesson for the 2.5 hour playing lesson for the same price as a 1 hour lesson on a range, which won't probably fix you. I mean, wouldn't that be a more advantageous way rather than spending money on SEO for somebody who's 25 miles away? What about the person shanking it on the driving range who just spent $14 on a bucket of balls, who's right there in front of you? But guess what? Your greatest asset is stuck behind a counter or stuck behind a spreadsheet. And we're coming up with all these crazy ways of how we could make more money, and we're struggling to do it. Now, you might say during COVID, we're doing so well, but it's going to go away. We saw it through Tiger. It's going to drift away, But if those people are having great relationships with their coach and they're playing and they've met 6 or 7 people and they're playing in a league and they're competing and they're hitting balls and they're coming to supervised practices, they're not leaving, because we've got to look at it more like CrossFit or, Tough Mudders, this idea that people are now working out because why? I can be in a community with my coach. It's flexible to my time, but I'm seeing insane results. But the results have become secondary to hanging out with my people at my place, my sort of cheers, right? And that's what we've got to start to think of, is like their golf club, even if it's a public course, it's your place to come and hang out. And yeah, there's a skins game, but that usually isn't including everybody, right? It's not very family oriented. How do we bring those family events in, those parent junior tournaments? And so all these families are there and this is their place. And that dad, this is my Wednesday night to go and play 9 holes with my pro and my team and go and have fun on the golf course playing, not go and take a half-hour lesson working on my terrible 3-wood. If anyone wants to take a lesson, it means you're not playing good,
Instead of search engine optimization, we should be practicing shankers optimization, looking for the shankers and building a program around them, getting them happier and more engaged. Don, final question or comment from you?
Oh, I love it, man. I just, it's like we've been saying, a golf professional just picking up baskets on the range, starting conversations. teaching people what they need instead of what they want. I mean, I'm just all in. And to the point that Will said, and guaranteeing results. That is the change. We've been selling time forever. Why don't we sell results? Because that's what makes people happy at the end of the day. And so, I think there's a lot of good stuff that Will's done. Any golf course owner could have their PGA Golf Professional, PGA Golf Professional go through a lot of these classes. They're free. The videos are out there that Will talks about these things. Once again, not swing philosophies, but coaching strategies to make sure that the industry stays strong. So I appreciate Will's time. I mean, I'm a big believer in what he's doing. We just got to get his word out because, as you heard today, Jay, it will change the industry.
This is no longer, I mean, if you really step back and look at what's happening in our industry, I feel like despite JJ's, commentary about status quo is such a powerful force in our industry, and it always will be. That's human nature. But I'm just seeing so much rejection of rinse and repeat going on, like what Will's bringing to the table and what others are going to, at the PGA Show, we're going to have technology companies there, Golf Business Conference, we're going to have discussions going on about how to do things differently. And to me, that's really exciting. So, I think we're in the midst of this renaissance in our sport, in our game. And I'm very excited, Will, that you're part of it and what you're bringing to the table, because I think a lot of people benefit. The golfer benefits, the golf professional benefits, and the owner operator benefits, so it's really the trifecta there from, these elevated practices. And I really appreciate what you're doing in our industry. Don, any last word?
No, see you at the show. Let's go network now. Let's talk to other people and let's get exchange some good ideas and best practices. That's what the show's all about. We're looking at 5,000 PGA Golf Professionals, up to 11,000 attendees this next week. Your conference, our show, is going to be very successful. So if you haven't decided to come yet, it's not too late. You should come and rub elbows with the people who are doing exactly what you're doing, because that's what it's all about. Will,
thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you.
Don, I'll see you on the escalators. We'll have our meeting.
We're going to the escalator meeting. You're exactly right.
All right, guys. See you next month, and we'll see many of you next week in Orlando. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.